Hi, welcome to Paving Paradise, a podcast dedicated to the asphalt paving industry. We're your hosts, Justin Rodriguez.
And I'm Scott Ramsey. Did we get it right that time?
Yeah,
we got it right that time. Nailed it. Nailed it. Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about chip seals. It's the chip seal extravaganza episode. Chip seals are, I think, more exciting topic in the asphalt industry.
Oh, I love them.
They pop. They have color. It has a natural look to it.
Something different than black.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and mostly for our residential customers, this is going to be kind of our residential people out there that have a driveway that it would work for. This episode might be worth watching. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about chip seals.
Yeah, do it.
So, a chip seal is a thin layer of oil with a loose layer of gravel embedded into it, basically, on top. So they use an emulsion called CRS2H, which stands for cationic rapid set. 2 is the viscosity level, and H stands for hard, because when it dries hard. So did I get that right?
Yep.
So
as far as I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I think I read it in a book somewhere.
Yeah.
But chip seals are a good way to resurface a driveway or a parking lot with minimal effort. It hides all the blemishes. It's a flexible oil, so it kind of moves with the ground a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed over the years, and but it's not the end all solution. It's not the most durable finish as far as if you want something that's going to last 20 years. I always tell people if you leave a decorative finish on a chip, it'll last 7 to 10 years.
That's what I tell people to do. Yeah, 7 to 10 years.
Yeah, is a maximum, and then in the interim, you might want to bring in some fresh gravel to lay on top of it just to kind of flush it out, because it will rut on the wheel path of the cars, the typical driving path of the cars. So let's get into chip seals. The do's and don'ts. I think that's a big one for me. When people call me, I'm like, hey, there's limitations to it.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the different applications. So we're going to have 2 different applications. We're going to have residential application, and then we're going to have kind of commercial industrial application, which is going to be more roadways and stuff.
Yeah, I called it decorative versus functional.
Okay.
Functional, I think, is more of like the public works application.
Correct. Well, let's talk about the decorative one first, because that's pretty simple. And like Justin said, I mean, chip seal it started out as being a preservation tool. It's just another method of preserving the surface of the asphalt, preserving it from water, sunlight, and traffic.
And it's in the name, chip seal. It's like a seal coat, or a road slurry seal.
Right.
So it's a sealant. It is just a thin layer that goes on the top of an asphalt surface.
And the difference between, we could just mention here quickly, the difference between a chip seal surface and a slurry is a mixture of the sand, the oil, and the rock. Whereas and then it gets laid on the road. It gets mixed in a box and then laid on the road. Hopefully we'll have Jimmy as a guest speaker one of these days. And he can explain it way better than we can. What's different with a chip seal is a chip seal doesn't get mixed up. We have a binder that goes down, then right literally seconds later, crushed rock goes down. Mm-hmm. Now the thing to mention about the crushed rock is it has to be crushed, so the rock locks together.
Jagged edge, meaning it's not a smooth.
There are no round edges.
Exactly. It's not like a river stone or a pebble or something. It's got to be a crushed rock. Yes.
Right. It has to be a crushed rock, and the other thing, it has to meet density tests. Now there's the one that I know about, and I don't really know how it all is. I'm not a chemist. I'm just a stupid asphalt guy. But it's called the LA Rattler test. And so what they do, very simply, what they do is they take one rock. They put it in a jar with ball bearings, and they shake it around for a while, and then they dump it out on the ground. Well, to meet the LA Rattler test, that one rock cannot become 5 rocks, but potentially it could become 2 rocks.
Right.
So, because what that means is you don't want to put a soft rock down that as cars are driving on it, it's going to just crush down into dust.
Right.
So, in order for a rock to be classified as a chip rock, it has to be crushed. And it has to meet the density test, so it's not.
And that's more for the, as I call it, functional road test, or basically like a public works standard.
No, I mean it's true.
Yeah, but a residential, if they're doing a decorative, the reason I bring that up is because, especially out here, everyone loved California Gold, which is a rock that came out of Barstow. It's a nice rock, but it'd be good for like landscaping areas and those. It's not very functional for a chip seal because it crushes, it breaks down, and turns to. It gets really chalky and dusty. But you get like rock comes in from more north where they're more granite-like and they're harder.
Correct.
And they last longer.
Correct. So yeah, there are, and Justin's 100% correct, there are different veins of cow gold that were used back in the day, and they really worked out good I remember they were trucking this stuff down to Malibu, and they were doing the city streets with it. It was so
really?
beautiful.
Oh, so I didn't even know.
Yeah. They would use it because it was so hard. Well, then they got into different veins of the cow gold, and it just softened up.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of public works jobs where they had to be redone. So and it doesn't matter whether it's residential, because you go to the landscape yards and there's so many different beautiful colors. We did a chip seal down in Montecito, and the lady, very sweet lady, she was insistent that she wanted Palm Springs gold, and nobody could answer the question. So first of all, the problem was
like Santa Barbara stone or something. You had to buy it.
Yeah, exactly right. The problem is at the quarry they weren't washing it, so it was really dirty.
Yeah.
And the other thing is just putting it down, just by having our rollers going over it, I could see it crushing down. So, but she was insistent that she wanted that color, that rock, and but it does, no matter what kind of chip seal you're going to do, you want to make sure you're using the right kind of rock.
And that's going to rock. The emulsions they use, I don't know if it's just the emulsion itself, but I know that there's anionic, non-ionic, which are neutral charged, and cationic, which we use cationic rapid set 2H, right?
Correct.
So if the polarity in the rock is not compatible with the oil, I've heard that they don't work very well. So
correct.
Out here, it's mostly cationic in Southern California and the West, but I don't know, some of those rocks, they might truck them in from who knows where, right? Or most of the quarry rock, are we getting it locally?
I don't know.
There are some of those gravel pit places that sell different colored rocks, but I don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah, true. And I know, and this has just been my experience over the years, I know when you're making slurries, you're making highway slurries or type 2s, I know the charges, the oil and the rock, and I've even heard of where rock is real reactive. And so what they do is they mine it, they crush it, and they do their testing to sample for the highway slurries.
Right.
It's still so reactive, and it's not working well with the oils.
Right.
They actually have to get it with loaders and just keep mixing it, and somehow that dissipates the charge.
It probably pulls
it neutralizes the rock. But those are more. I think those are more in the case of doing slurries.
Right.
And when you're doing mixed designs and stuff.
You don't think it'll affect the chip seal as much?
I don't know. I think the CRS, the high residue, the high asphalt content in the CRS oil, and making sure that the rock is not completely smooth. I think that oil would grab the rock and hold it in place.
When they're spraying now, it's pretty thick and it's getting covered, and it's going to bond to the ground, I would assume. So I'm going to negative charge is going to pop it out once the tar is set up and it's dried out.
Well, knock on wood, I haven't experienced anything like that. But no, you're 100% correct. These are all variables that go into, when you're looking at surface treatments, these are all variables that go into making a successful chip seal job.
So let's talk about the functional. Let's keep going with like the functional aspect, and we'll get into the decorative in a minute. Because I think the decorative is a little more simple. But let's say someone wants to chip seal a parking lot, like a heavily used parking lot, just to, instead of overlay, maybe they'll just want to do that as a surface treatment to kick the can down the road on their driveway. Or if you're doing a road, what goes into it? So you like the overlay, you're going to clean and prep. But what else should we look for? When do we sweep it? When does the oil go down? What temperatures should we look at?
Yeah, so that's good points. Well, when I look at a parking lot, a roadway, streets, whatever, even a driveway, right. I look at it. I look at chip seal as if I were doing a seal coat. No difference. We go in. I address the patchwork. What patching needs to be done, skim patching, R&R, whatever it is.
Crack fill? Again?
I was gonna get to that. So I look at it as a complete preservation package.
Right.
So because we want to, keep the sunlight away, keep the water out. So do the repair work, get it clean, and we still have to address the cracking.
Right.
It's still a must. And so we still hot crack fill, cold crack fill, whatever you means you choose.
And I know in the overlay episode you mentioned you didn't really like hot crack fill with an overlay because it didn't bind well or it got gummy again. It reheated.
Correct.
But what about with a chip seal? Will it work better?
Yeah, it works way better.
Okay.
Yeah, way better. Because I mean, think about it, guys. When you're paving, everything you're doing with the rollers, the trucks, everything is heating up to 300 degrees.
Yep.
When you're on a paving machine, I mean, I literally have paved all day long, and it just sucked the moisture out of my body. It's so hot. So everything around heats up. That crack filler heats back up to 300 degrees, and it just becomes liquefied
Right.
again. It's a nightmare. With the chip seal, that's not the case.
Yeah, because the chip oil is what, about 135 degrees or so?
Yeah, 120, 130. I mean, you get up to 130, 140. 150, it sprays real nice and smooth, but it's a little hot in the handle for the guys to hold.
Yeah.
But yeah, it works. It works, but you're not having the problems with the crack filler heating back up and coming back to life.
Right. So then for like a functional roadway, they're going to use probably just like a gray color chip rock. The oil goes down on the ground. The aggregate comes in right after it while it's still in liquid state.
Yep.
So then you have a roller coming in behind it.
Yep.
Usually we use pneumatic tire rollers.
Correct.
I'm a heathen. I use a tandem drum roller, but I'm just doing decorative chip seals. I don't go out and bid public works jobs.
Yeah, and the whole point of using a roller on it, whether it be a steel drum or a pneumatic roller, is you want the rock to lay over on its flat side.
Right.
So you have a rock that comes in, and you're going to have the rock, it's all crushed, and it's going to fall in place, and you have certain rock that's sticking up like that on its top end. Well, as soon as you put the roller, then all that rock just lays over.
It's pushing it down.
It pushes it into the oil, and it lays all that rock over on its small side. So,
Right.
And then once that happens, then you don't have these teeth that are sticking up in the air that'll just get sheared off.
And then my guys will use the plate tamper on the edges to mash it down and.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know that my guys even do that, because I mean, the only thing I would watch out with that is just to make sure you're not
breaking
crushing
the
the rock.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole point
you
of
don't
a
want to
chip
beat
seal.
the rock up
No.
too much. Yeah, it's a quick pass, and they usually go around,
Yeah.
and it kind of gets it flat.
I mean, you might even talk to your guys about this. You might even be a little more effective getting one of those landscape rollers.
Oh yeah, like water
fill it up with water
that's not a bad
and just
idea.
run around it rather. Because if you use, I mean, you can use a steel drum.
Yeah, the plate tamper is like really beating it up.
Yeah, it's going to beat the hell out of it. And you can use, like you guys use a steel drum. We use a steel drum as well. Obviously, you're not going to use a vibratory. Don't use a vibratory. Yeah, it's just all bad.
A vibratory drum roller, it puts an extra 3 to 4 or 5 tons of force.
Correct.
On top of what the rollers already anywhere 3 to 4 ton, 5 to 8 ton rollers.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be putting extra force and breaking up the little
crushing the
fragile.
stone. Yeah.
They're not fragile. I mean, it's crushed granite. So,
correct.
But yeah, you don't want to be breaking it down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want
correct.
to leave a nice solid rock in place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then a lot of the times, since we're going to, let's talk about the industrial or commercial application of chip
Right.
seal. So you go in, you roll it, get everything embedded in, and then depending on time of day, you can pretty much start sweeping immediately.
Right.
And especially with the types of oils they're using, the polymers that they're putting in the oils. I mean, a lot of these jobs, you can put them down, take lunch, sweep, and depending on the job we're doing, depending on the application, if there's going to be a fog seal afterward, sometimes it can be done all in the same day.
And we sweep because you're getting the loose aggregate off, because some of the aggregate doesn't get pushed into the oil all the way, so they sweep it off to clean up a lot of the extra loose gravel. So you're leaving just basically tar and the gravel in place.
Correct.
So the loose aggregate, they sweep it up, and then sometimes we'll do a second layer after you sweep it. You come in and put another layer of oil and more rock on top.
Correct. Yeah,
Why would you do 2 coats?
Well, and that's, well, no, that was going to be exactly. So in some instances, I've seen roadways, homeowners associations that are so bad, so cracked up that it wouldn't even, it would be infeasible. It would not be feasible to crack fill. So in that instance, what I like to do is we'll go in with a bigger rock on the top, on the bottom layer, or even just use a 3/8. Do one pass on the bottom, let that really go into the cracks and seed into the cracks, sweep it, and then go over it again with a second pass.
Right.
And that just gives you a double layer,
That's a good way to do it.
And it really, you know, through my experience, it kind of is once again, I use this term a lot. It's a little bit of an insurance policy that you're not going to have issues in the future, and you are going to get the 7 to 10 years because
Right.
I mean that's what you're selling, that's what I'm selling. Hey, 7 to 10 years is a typical lifespan of a chip seal.
Yeah, and then so that's more the commercial, the industrial application. Let's go into the homeowners, the residential application, because what they're excited about is more of a decorative finish. Because a chip seal, when it's done, it kind of looks like a park roadway or a decomposed granite, or it has a natural look to it if you do it.
The way I describe it to people, and they really, I mean, you see their eyes light up and they get really excited. It's a European cobble roadway.
Yeah.
You know, Mediterranean cobble roadway, and you know, people hear that and it's elegance and
It is the flashy thing that we do in our business, and it's the thing that most people call me about because they want to know, hey, can I do this? And then I go into all these points we're talking about, like, is the driveway a good applicant for a chip seal?
Right.
So what would make a good applicant for a chip seal? The surface should be pretty flat, I think.
Exactly.
Any incline, because instead of sweeping off for a decorative finish, we're going to leave that loose residual layer of gravel on there.
You don't want to see any oil.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole point of it. You don't want to see any black.
It's going to look like a gravel road,
right.
A driveway. It'll look like a finished. I'll have a natural look. So, making sure the driveway is flat, making sure that it's not too cracked up or beat up. Hopefully, we'll get a good bond. If it's too smooth, sometimes I don't even like to. I don't know. What do you think about a smooth driveway?
I don't think. I mean, as long. I mean, we've done a few where I've been a little nervous because there's about 1,000 coats of slurry because you know
it's all flaking off.
Mary Jo homeowners, her and her husband's been out there seal coating it once a year, every year for the last 30 years, and it is so thick. And I'm looking at it like, man, what? I mean, once that seal coat releases, is my chip seal going to come off with it?
Yeah.
I haven't had it happen because the oil and the rock is so heavy. I haven't had it happen before.
That's good.
So yeah, I haven't had smoothness being an issue.
And the chip oil is really thick. I mean, it's
really thick.
Very thick emulsion.
Yeah.
So, what else should we talk about as far as a residential application goes?
Well, and I think I mentioned this in episode 1 because chip seals really get me excited. They're the most transformative thing that we do. It's not black. People just associate, oh my God, black, blah, blah.
Yeah. And when they realize, hey, wait, I could do that.
Yeah,
if they get
pretty excited. They get pretty excited. But you know, when I get called out to a job, if I know that I'm looking at it and it's a chip seal, as I'm meandering to the front door, I'm looking around. Do I see tricycles? Do I see bicycles? Do I see kids' toys?
Very good point.
Do I see a basketball hoop? Chip seal is not a good application when you've got kids involved. It's just, you know, you fall.
You cannot skateboard on it.
You can't skateboard. You cannot rollerblade. You can bicycle on it, but if you've got little ones that are going to start to learn to bicycle, I mean, your knees are literally hamburger meat. I mean, those stones are pretty sharp. It's crushed stone. It's pretty sharp.
Yeah.
So whenever I go and I look, that's the first thing I'm looking for. Are there kids? Does grandma and grandpa have the kids there every afternoon after school?
Right.
You know, there's certain things I ask people to see if it would be a good, my little,
That is one of the things I tell people is like, hey, you have kids, it's not going to be good for them.
Yeah, it's just my little makeshift qualification process that I go through.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that I look at. You hit on a big one, elevation.
Yeah.
You know, elevation,
Because if it's steep, what happens is the chip kind of rolls off. You have a washboard effect. It just all goes down to the bottom. It piles up. Yeah. I've seen some driveways where the owner talked to the contractor. He talked him into doing a steep driveway, and lo and behold, at the very bottom of the steep hill, just a pile, and they have a hard time getting their car up and over. And they'll have like a Porsche or a really high-end low car, and they just can't get through it. So.
Yeah, and I've even had customers call me back and say, "Hey Scott, I'll pay you to come back and sweep all this crap off, and then just fog seal it, just oil it."
Or because it looks good if you just sweep it off, especially even if it's like a colored rock. I've seen it where they swept it off and it just kind of looks like a gold asphalt, and it's
Yeah,
it's not the best, but
it's okay. I don't know, because you can see all the binder coming through.
Yeah,
you can see all the oil coming through.
Yeah, but I've seen it. It's like, I don't know. I've seen people sweep it off, and I've seen them seal coat over it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that. Yeah, we've done that a lot.
So
yeah,
I mean, you can do that. But the other thing to think about is if it's a new driveway, I've done chip seals over road base.
Correct.
In lieu of putting asphalt down, you'll put a little bit heavier emulsion down because the road base is going to soak it up a little bit. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
And then you probably, usually if you'd go over road base, you want 2 coats depending on your budgets or the need to get it done in a quick time frame.
Well, I think it's a good,
because I've done a lot of, over the years, almost all the time I've only done 1 coat over road base. And it lasts a long time.
It does.
I mean, it does hold up. But I think 2 coats is a little bit better.
Yeah, well, and because what happens with 1 coat is you just don't have the structure, because there is a little bit of structure there with chip seal, and what ends up happening with 1 coat, and it happens, a little prematurely, where a car sits in one place and they turn, it pancakes it.
Yeah.
And as soon as it pancakes and you disturb the structure and that whole surface, then it just starts coming apart.
90% of the time that I've done them though, it's usually a straight path.
Yeah, you probably won't have
and then
any
it'll be
issues.
like an asphalt motor court, or they'll have usually luckily it's like just a flat straight run, and they're not really, there's no room to do a 3-point turn.
Right.
So those are the things to think about, I think, on the residential. Is there anything else you could?
No, I mean, I'm a big.
Options?
Yeah, well, let's talk, we could talk before we get into the color options. Let's talk about the base application. So that's also one thing that really excites me, because especially with, well, and I'll tell all the viewers this. I'm going to let you into my closet a little bit here. Chip seal is the one thing that kept me in business 2008, 2009, 2010. If it wasn't that we were so heavily ensconced in the maintenance part of asphalt, I don't know that my business would be here to this day. Because asphalt, those of you guys that were in business 2008, 2009, 2010,
big recession.
Asphalt prices went literally overnight $30 a ton to $90 a ton here in California. Literally overnight. And
especially out here where we're at rural, like it's because they're trucking and aggregate and all that stuff, and there's no oil plants nearby.
Right.
But,
and the other thing that was kind of scary is not only did asphalt go from $30 a ton overnight to $90 a ton overnight, asphalt was being quoted weekly. Usually, and I know it's the same for
15 to 30 days.
I know it's the same for you. I mean, when we call our asphalt supplier, whether it's Rush or Travis, our prices are pretty stable for the whole year.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't change a whole lot.
Right.
So, and even with the downturn that we had when oil prices were -0, asphalt prices were still the same.
Yes.
And it didn't really change a whole lot. So. Where was I going with that? I just totally blanked out. No, seriously, where was I?
You're talking about road base and the application for the going in the road base, and you said the chip seal kept you in business.
Oh yeah. So and the reason for that is because when asphalt went up way high, people in my business, people that you serve, they're usually running about a year behind. So a lot of the work that we do here in 2020 are jobs that we bid in 2019. That's pretty normal.
That's true.
So when they looked at their 2007 budget, and then they went and refinanced their church, refinanced the home, the association refinanced the whole community. That's pretty popular. People don't realize that, but these associations, they refinance to get the cash. So they come back and they say, okay, Scott, we're ready to go. Oh, sorry, we have to rebid it. Well, that $30,000 paving job just went to $58,000, $60,000. And they're like, oh, well, it's double. We don't have the budget now. So that was the one thing that kept us in business, was so we had another alternative. And I still like chip seal for that other alternative to this day. So and we have a lot of people that we serve that will go in, we'll blow in base, 6, 8, 9, 10 inches of base, and then do a double chip. And I've had people argue with me, it's asphalt. No, it's not asphalt.
Yeah, I know. I can tell the
and
difference.
I've had people argue with me. They say, you paved it.
It does look. I always tell people it's a poor man's asphalt.
Yeah, that's how it's kind of referred to as. But I mean, after, and you maintain it the same way. You know, every 3, 4, 5, 6 years, you go in and you seal coat it, you seal coat it, you seal coat it,
or put another layer of chip on it,
or put more chip on it.
Yeah.
Over a period of time, that road will it looks like asphalt.
It does.
You don't know, you won't see the difference.
It really does. It's a really versatile product too, because maybe we'll get into this when we have Jimmy on the show talking about slurry seals. But you can do a cape seal also, where you do a chip seal and then you come in and put a Type 2 slurry over it.
Right.
So there's a lot of different things you could do with it to. Like, that's a good option for big homeowners associations that have large roadways.
Right.
And they don't want to go through the whole reconstruction cost of putting 3 new inches in and doing all the demolition.
Right.
It's a faster, quicker way of doing things. So
well, and this is one. Well, and this is one thing that I go to a couple times a year. Shane and I went to one earlier this year, and it's a pavement
conference or whatever.
Well, the one that we went to was strictly pavement preservation, and I like going to these because they talk about, you know, it's County of Riverside. You know, County of Riverside has more roads than all of the roads in, like,
Connecticut
New York
or something.
New York or Connecticut. Yeah. And so it's not feasible for them to even consider remove and reconstruct.
Right.
Because you're looking at $4 or $5 a square foot.
Yep.
There is no way that they could rebuild that infrastructure, because that's really what it is. You're rebuilding the infrastructure. So what they look at is they look at pavement preservation. Well, what can we do how can we make our taxpayer money stretch it that far? You know, and with the budgets they have, what are they going to do? One street per year?
Right.
They wouldn't get anything done with a remove and replace or reconstruct. So they really rely heavily on maintenance, because you're going from $4 to $5 a square foot for reconstruction down to 20 to 30 cents a square foot for chip seal.
A chip seal, I don't see it. I think the Type 2 slurry is going to replace the chip seal on the city streets and a lot of road. Do you think that's true, or do you still see chip seal a lot being used in public works?
I think it still has a, you know, especially city streets. Yeah, I still see, you know, a big need for it.
Yeah.
You know,
they still make the oil, and we still get it. But yeah, and I've seen guys. There's a company up north that came in and did. I forget the name of the company, but they did cape seals. They do the chip seal first, and then they'll come in and do the Type 2 slurry. Then they did Carpinteria a couple of years ago, and they did a whole bunch of roads.
Right. Yeah.
And it's so yeah, chip seal is still a viable product.
I don't think it's going anywhere.
I find it funny because we're up north of Los Angeles, but I'll get a lot of jobs down in LA because they don't do it down there. They don't know when it does chip seals down there.
I don't know. Yeah, it's bizarre.
I've had you bring your trucks down.
Well, you've told me. Yeah, you've told me. Yeah, hey, let's go to Malibu. Yeah, it's bizarro to me that.
Yeah.
Because I know I've talked to people. I mean, here in the valley, there's chip seal everywhere.
Right.
And when I mention the word chip seal, they have no idea.
Yeah.
You know, they've never heard of it before.
Do. Yeah, a lot of them do it out here, the ranch roads and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good,
super popular. Yeah, I mean we do a ton of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it still is that kind of unknown. People still don't really know what it is. They don't think it is an option,
or maybe they just think it's kind of an exotic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know, but it is one of the most transformative things that we do in the industry that really gets people excited.
Yeah.
And on that note, why don't you go as far as the decorative field, talk about the different colors?
Yeah. So out here we get locally there's a gray color chip rock. We
Great.
get it up,
that's just mined. Just mined here locally.
Yeah, it's like a river rock. They crush it and it
has gray tones.
And it looks good if you do use it as a just a decorative finish.
Yeah.
I think it looks great. I've done them a couple times, and usually modern homes will want the gray finish instead of the gold.
Yeah.
And then if people have like a craftsman style house or a Mediterranean style home, they'll go with a gold colored rock. We get a rock called Hanley Gold. It comes out of, I think it's a granite quarry up north.
Correct.
In Gonzales.
Gonzales, right.
And that's Hanley Gold. That's a nice durable rock. And then Granite also owns another one up in Felton, Santa Cruz County.
Correct.
Felton Gold. So we get those, and then there's a Navajo quarry that it's like the top secret one
outside
but
of
that's
Paso
the super
Robles.
popular. Outside of Paso Robles.
Yeah.
And Navajo, they call it Navajo Gold, and that's a very popular rock and color out here. And it's a little bit different. It has different grades of reds in there, and
it's more the way people ask me how do I describe it, and it's more earth tony.
Yeah.
You know, more earth tones, and
It kind of goes with
it's
a lot.
softer. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a. I think the gray and the Navajo is
They kind of
more universal.
Yes.
It's a much more universal. Whereas the gold, the Felton gold, which the Felton was what was used for years and years, and it ended up getting soft. So we haven't used Felton for a long time. Have you used it?
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, no.
We've been getting handley quarry.
Exactly,
and
right.
that's a good point, because the quarries over time they expire because they're digging them.
Sure.
It's a natural substance. So the thing that a homeowner should consider when they do a chip seal in 7 to 10 years, they might want to choose a different color or try and get what's closest. It's never going to be the exact same match, because the rocks, like you said, they can get softer. They change in color depending on where they dig it out of the hill.
Yeah.
It changes. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's not like Coca-Cola where they make the same recipe all the time.
Right.
It's something that's a natural substance that's occurring.
So, that's. I think we covered all the bases on chip
I think that's
seal.
good information on chip seal for the consumers out there, and anyone wanting to know more about it. So. I appreciate talking to me about it.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I could talk about this for days.
I know.
Chip seal is the fun. It's like we said. It's the fun thing we talk
It
about.
is.
We do
it
in our
is.
business.
Yeah.
Very transformational. Anyway, hopefully that answered all your questions. Feel free to shoot us an email if you have any more questions about chip seal, and we'll see you down the road.
All right. Thanks, guys.